Have you ever stopped to truly consider the weight of your own freedom? It's a gift and a burden, a source of both exhilaration and anxiety. We celebrate our independence, our ability to make our own choices, but often the sheer magnitude of that freedom can feel overwhelming. What if there's no right answer? What if we make the wrong choice? These are the questions that can stir within us, leaving us feeling lost and uncertain. But what if I told you that this discomfort, this fear of the unknown, is actually an invitation? It's a call to step into the fullness of who we are meant to be. Existentialism, a philosophy that emphasizes individual freedom and responsibility, encourages us to lean into this discomfort. It challenges us to embrace the unknown and find liberation in the realization that we have the power to create our own meaning. In a world often clamoring for our attention, for us to conform to predefined paths, existentialism whispers a different truth. It tells us that we are not simply characters in someone else's story. We have the pen in our hands, the freedom to write our own narratives, to craft a life that resonates with our deepest values. Imagine a universe where you are not defined by your past, your circumstances, or the expectations of others. This is the heart of existential freedom. It's the radical notion that we are not born into a world with a predetermined purpose, but rather thrust into existence with the awesome responsibility of creating our own. Jean-Paul Sartre, a prominent existentialist philosopher, famously said, "Man is nothing else but what he makes of himself." This statement, in its stark simplicity, encapsulates the core of existential thought. We are not defined by our genes, our upbringing, or societal norms. We are defined by the choices we make, the actions we take, and the way we choose to engage with the world around us. This freedom, while exhilarating, can also be daunting. It means accepting that we are the architects of our own lives, responsible for the structure we build and the legacy we leave behind. There are no blueprints to follow, no preordained paths to guarantee success or happiness. We are confronted with a blank canvas and the exhilarating, terrifying freedom to paint our own masterpiece. But within this daunting responsibility lies incredible liberation. It empowers us to break free from the shackles of expectation, to challenge the status quo, and to forge our own unique path. It's a call to live authentically, to embrace our individuality, and to create a life that reflects our truest selves. The freedom to create our own meaning can feel like both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it's empowering to know that we have the agency to shape our own destiny. On the other hand, the absence of a predetermined path can be paralyzing. With infinite possibilities comes the weight of countless choices, each carrying the potential for both triumph and regret. It's here, at the precipice of choice, that many of us falter. The fear of making the wrong decision can keep us tethered to the familiar, even if it no longer serves us. We might find ourselves clinging to societal expectations, outdated beliefs, or the comfort of inaction, all in an attempt to avoid the disquiet of uncertainty. But what if the wrong choice doesn't exist? What if every decision, regardless of its outcome, presents an opportunity for learning, growth, and a deeper understanding of ourselves? Existentialism encourages us to reframe our perspective on choice, to see it not as a minefield of potential mistakes, but as a springboard for self-discovery. It's about embracing the unknown, accepting that there are no guarantees in life, and stepping boldly into the vast landscape of our own potential. The courage to choose, even in the face of uncertainty, is where we truly begin to live. It's in those moments of decision, big and small, that we define who we are and what we stand for. Existential freedom doesn't announce itself with fanfare and fireworks. It's a quiet revelation. A subtle shift in perception that occurs when we truly grasp the depth of our own agency. It's the moment we realize that we are not merely products of our environment, shaped by external forces beyond our control. We are, in a very real sense, the authors of our own being. This doesn't mean we get to choose our starting point in life. We don't get to pick our parents, our circumstances, or the hand we're dealt. But it does mean that we have the power to choose how we respond to those circumstances, how we interpret our experiences, and ultimately, how we define ourselves in the face of them. This realization that we are not fixed but rather fluid, ever-evolving beings can be both exhilarating and terrifying. It shatters the illusion of a predetermined path, of a life laid out before us like a map. Instead, we are confronted with a vast and uncharted territory, the landscape of our own potential stretching out before us, ripe with possibility and fraught with uncertainty. But within this uncertainty lies the very essence of existential freedom. It's the freedom to create, to explore, to stumble and rise again, all the while knowing that we are the ones shaping the contours of our own existence. We are not simply passengers on a predetermined journey. We are the drivers, the navigators, the architects of our own unique and ever-unfolding adventure. For generations, humans have sought comfort in structure, in the clearly defined roles and expectations that society provides. We are born into families, raised in communities, and slotted into pre-existing systems that often dictate our paths. We are told who we should be, what we should value, and how we should live our lives. Existential freedom challenges these preconceived notions. It urges us to question the roles we inherit, the expectations we internalize, and the narratives we've been told about who we are and who we should be. It's an invitation to step outside the confines of societal conditioning and to examine our lives with a critical and discerning eye. This process of questioning, of peeling back the layers of external influence, can be unsettling. It requires courage to confront the possibility that we've been living our lives according to someone else's script, that we've adopted beliefs and behaviors that don't truly align with our authentic selves. But it's in this process of dismantling that we create space for something new, something truer to our own unique nature. By shedding the weight of expectation, we free ourselves to explore the full spectrum of our being, to discover our own values, passions, and desires, unburdened by the shoulds and should-nots of the world around us. It's a journey of self-discovery, a path towards reclaiming our autonomy and embracing the radical freedom to define ourselves on our own terms. While the idea of a life free from societal constraints and predetermined paths may seem liberating, it can also be a source of profound anxiety. The blank slate, while full of potential, can also feel like a heavy burden to bear. When we are truly free to choose, the weight of infinite possibility can feel paralyzing. We are left to grapple with the question, what if I choose wrong? This fear of making the wrong choice can be crippling. It can keep us tethered to the familiar, even when it no longer serves us. We may find ourselves clinging to jobs we hate, relationships that drain us, or belief systems that no longer resonate, all because the unknown feels too daunting, the possibility of failure too great. The burden of unlimited choice can lead to a sort of existential paralysis where the fear of choosing poorly prevents us from choosing at all. But this fear, while understandable, is ultimately an illusion. There is no right or wrong choice in the grand scheme of things, only choices that align with our values and choices that don't. Every decision we make, every path we take, is an opportunity for growth, for learning, for becoming more fully ourselves. The key is to embrace the uncertainty, to accept that there are no guarantees in life, and to step into the unknown with courage and curiosity. Instead of viewing the blank slate as a source of fear, we can choose to see it as an invitation. It's a canvas upon which we get to paint our own unique masterpiece, a story we get to write with the pen of our own experience. It's a reminder that we're not defined by our past mistakes or our fear of the future, but rather by our willingness to embrace the present moment and to make the best choices we can with the information we have. At its core, existentialism embraces the inherent absurdity of life. There is no grand plan, no cosmic blueprint, no preordained meaning or purpose waiting to be discovered. We are born into a world that often feels chaotic and random, a world where suffering and loss are inevitable and where our time is finite and precious. This realization, while stark, can also be profoundly liberating. It frees us from the illusion of control, from the need to find definitive answers to life's big questions. It allows us to accept the unknown, to embrace the paradoxical nature of existence, and to find beauty and meaning in the everyday, even in the face of life's inherent absurdity. Embracing the absurdity doesn't mean abandoning hope or resigning ourselves to nihilism. It simply means acknowledging the limits of our understanding, accepting that we will never have all the answers, and choosing to live fully and authentically in the present moment. It's about finding joy in the simple things, cultivating gratitude for the gift of life, and connecting with others in meaningful ways, all while knowing that our time here is precious and fleeting. By embracing the absurdity of existence, we free ourselves from the shackles of expectation and the need to conform to external definitions of success or happiness. We are free to define our own values, to create our own meaning, and to live lives that are true to our own unique and ever-evolving selves. It's a journey of self-discovery, a celebration of our shared humanity, and an invitation to live with intention, curiosity, and a sense of wonder in the face of the great unknown. To speak of existential freedom without acknowledging the weight of responsibility is like describing a coin by only showing one side. They are two sides of the same coin, inseparable and inextricably intertwined. While the freedom to choose can feel exhilarating, even intoxicating at times, it's crucial to remember that every choice casts a ripple effect, shaping not only our own lives, but also the world around us. Simone de Beauvoir, a renowned existentialist, philosopher, and feminist, eloquently captured this sentiment when she wrote, "We are condemned to be free." Her words, while seemingly paradoxical, highlight a fundamental truth about the human condition. We don't get to choose whether or not we are free. It's an inherent aspect of our existence. Even choosing not to choose is in itself a choice, one that carries its own set of consequences. This inherent freedom, this constant state of choosing, can feel like both a gift and a burden. It's a gift because it empowers us to shape our own destinies, to create lives that align with our values, but it's also a burden because it means accepting full accountability for the choices we make, for the paths we take, and for the impact our actions have on ourselves and others. Existential responsibility isn't about guilt or shame. It's about recognizing the power we possess and wielding it with intention and integrity. It's about understanding that our choices have consequences, both for ourselves and for the world around us. It's about striving to live in alignment with our values, even when it's difficult, even when it's uncomfortable, because we understand that true freedom is found not in the absence of constraints, but in the courage to choose wisely and to live with the consequences of our choices. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the weight of responsibility, to see it as a heavy cloak draped over our shoulders, constricting our movements and stifling our joy. But what if we were to shift our perspective, to view responsibility not as a burden but as a form of empowerment? When we embrace responsibility, we step into our power. We acknowledge that we are not passive bystanders in the unfolding narrative of our lives, but active participants, co-creators with the universe itself. We recognize that we have the ability to make a difference, to impact the world around us in meaningful ways, simply by the choices we make each and every day. This realization can be incredibly liberating. It shifts our focus from external circumstances to internal agency, from feeling like victims of our environment to becoming architects of our own destiny. It allows us to move through the world with a sense of purpose, knowing that our actions have weight, that our choices matter. When we view responsibility through this lens, it transforms from a daunting obligation into an exciting opportunity. It becomes the driving force behind our personal growth, the catalyst for creating a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling. It's the realization that we are not defined by our circumstances, but by how we choose to respond to them. It's the understanding that true freedom is not about doing whatever we want, but about having the courage to do what we believe is right, even when it's difficult.